All right, this is 2013, number 4. I know, Arlinda, you only asked for a couple, like I think B and D or something. I'm just going to do the whole problem. All right, and this is one from AB. This is one that we should have done before. The figure above shows the graph of the derivative. That's the big thing right there. That's the graph of the derivative of a twice differentiable function on the closed interval going from 0 to 8. The derivative has horizontal tangents at x equals 1. So x equals 1, there's a horizontal tangent at x equals 3 and x equals 5. So that means what? Horizontal tangent means that the slope is 0. So that's the derivative of the derivative. Those are where the second derivative equals 0. The areas of the region between the graph of the derivative and the x-axis are labeled in the figure. So we've got the areas 2 here, the area 6, 3, and 7. The function f is defined for all real numbers and satisfies this initial condition that f of 8 equals 4. So, A. Find all the values of x on the open interval from 0 to 8 for which the function has a local minimum. Justify your answer. Well, how do we find a minimum? Find a minimum is you take the derivative and we set it equal to 0. That's the critical point. Well, what do we already have is we already have the derivative. Where is it equal to 0? Well, it equals 0 here at 1, at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those are all where the derivative equals 0. So those are all critical points. Those are all possible maxes and minimums. Now, to get a minimum, that means, if I look at my sign chart, that means the derivative has to change sign. If it's a minimum, that means the derivative goes from negative to positive. Well, here at 1, where's the derivative? The derivative, it's positive and positive because it's above the x-axis. I don't even have a max or min here. This is just a critical point. At this number 4, before it, it's positive. After it, it's negative. Before the graph is above the x-axis, it's positive. Afterwards, the graph is below the x-axis, it's negative. The derivative is negative, so therefore, it's a positive to negative. That means it increases, then decreases. That's a max. We don't want that. Here, at 6, before the graph, the derivative is negative. After the graph, the derivative is positive, so that is my minimum. So, you would say, just rewrite the question, really. The graph of f has a local minimum at x equals 6 because that is where what happened? The derivative changes sign from negative to positive. This would be a 1-point answer. And there you go. All right. Part B. Determine the absolute minimum value of f on the closed interval from 0 to 8. So now what's the difference between part A and part B? Look at these or equal to's, right? That means I'm now including 0 and 8. Here, I wasn't. These were all open. 0 and 8 were not an option. Got it? So now to figure out the absolute minimum, that means I've got to figure out what is the value at 0. What is the value at 6, because that was our option from part A as a minimum. And what is our value at 8? Well, guess what? We already know the value at 8. The value at 8 is 4. Right? There you go. Value at 8 is 4. Now, we've got to figure out the other values. Well, the only initial condition I've got is that at 8 it is 4. And this is, again, the derivative. So figure out the function, I got to take the antiderivative. The antiderivative is what? An integral, right? So it's your initial condition, which in our case is 4 plus the integral of where am I starting? That's 8 to 6 of the derivative. What does integral also mean? That's area under the curve. But now look, I'm going from 8 to 6. That means I'm going this way. That means all my areas are backwards. This area here that's positive 7 is really a negative 7. This area here that's negative 3 is really a positive 3. So I would do 4, and I'm going all the way to just 6 here in this case. I'm just doing this. So just 4 minus 7, which equals negative 3. So now for 0, it would be 4 plus, now I got to go from 8 to 0 of the derivative, right? So that's going to be 4 minus 7 plus 3 minus 6 plus minus 2. Put all that together, I get negative 8. So where is our absolute minimum? Right there at negative 8, at 0, negative 8. So you'll say the absolute minimum occurs at, you can use the point, 0, negative 8. And there you go. This is a 3-point problem. 1 point for realizing you had to look at these two. 1 point for the actual answer, and 1 point for the justification. So if you only did this part here of f of 6 and figured that out and you never looked at the endpoints, you would get 0 points. Oh, actually, you know what? No, you'd probably get 1 point. You get 1 point for that, but out of 3. All right, part C. Let's look at C. On the open interval, so now we're not looking at the endpoints. Now it's an open interval, right? On the open interval from 0 to 8, on what open intervals contained in 0 to 8, so I'm looking at actual like whole open interval, is the graph both concave down and increasing? Explain your answer. Well, I can actually do the explanation first before I figure it out. For a graph to be concave down, sorry, there we go. For a graph to be concave down, what has to be true? The second derivative has to be negative. Concavity is the second derivative, right? For a graph to be increasing, that means the first derivative has to be positive. Well, now look and think of what we've got. We have the first derivative. So anywhere where the first derivative is positive, our graph is increasing. So in our case here, it is positive. By positive, I mean it's above the x-axis. There's a difference here between increasing and positive in that case. Got it? So above the x-axis, from 0 to 1, it's increasing. It's above the x-axis. It's also increasing right here, going from 1 to 3. It's also increasing right here, going from 3 to 4. It's not increasing here. This is all under the x-axis. That means the graph is decreasing, right? But here it's positive again, going from 6 to 8. So those are the increasing parts. Now I got to figure out where it's concave down, where the second derivative is negative. Well, the second derivative is what? Second derivative is the derivative of the derivative. We have the first derivative, so I just got to now look at the slopes. Now I'm looking at slopes, and I'm trying to figure out, is the slope positive or negative? Let me highlight where it is. So from 0 to 1, look, the line is going down, so that means my slope is negative. That means the original graph would be concave down. From 1 to 3, my graph is going up, so that means it's concave up. From 3 to 4, this part here, it is going down, so that means it's concave down. I'm not looking at 4 to 6. That whole thing was negative anyway, didn't care. 6 to 8, my graph is increasing. It's going up, so that means my slope is positive. That means my graph would be concave up. So what intervals are we looking at here? We're looking at intervals going from 0 to 1, from 0 to 1, and 3 to 4. So this would be your explanation. You can write it as a complete sentence, because here the first derivative would be positive, but the second derivative would be negative. And then those are your intervals. All right. Part D. The function g is defined by this. G of x equals the f of x to the third power, where f of 3 equals negative 5 halves. Find the slope of the line tangent to the graph at x equals 3. So they don't want to know the whole line. They just want the slope of the line. What is slope? It is derivative. So I have to take the derivative of g of x. Well, the derivative of g of x, this is a chain rule, right? So derivative of the outside, that's x cubed. X cubed, the 3 comes down, and then it's going to be f of x squared times the derivative of the inside. The derivative of f of x is just going to be the derivative of f of x. So now I got to plug in 3. Well, they told us f of 3 here is going to be negative 5 halves. So that's 3 times negative 5 halves squared times the derivative of f at 3. Well, where's the derivative? That's here at the graph. Boom. This is the derivative, and at 3, it's 4. So when I multiply all this out, let's see, 25, well, positive, it's going to be positive. 5 squared is 25. 25 times 4 is 100. 100 divided by 2. Okay, you're going to get 75 as our answer. And there you go. This is actually going to be divided by 4, actually, because it's squared, right? So what you're really going to have is 3 times 25. That's how I got 75, because 2 squared is 4, and that's going to cancel out with that 4. So hopefully that helps.